The notion of identity is a complex and changing concept. This screencast is going to try to explain how a sense of identity is created in living and learning about who we are, in the roles we play, the words we say, and the spaces we inhabit. One way in which identity is still created is through participation in social practices, where taking part creates a sense of belonging. This happens in shared experiences and by sharing the same code shifts within language that are recognised as valuable by other members. Since the onset of what could be called the digital age, the way that we understand communication and space has changed. Today we learn about ourselves in two coexisting worlds, a virtual community and the physical world, where we need to be able to decode the new literacies. New literacies is a term coined by Lancashire and Noble to describe how the meaning of the word literacy has altered over time. Instead of indicating the ability to read and write, literacy ought now to be considered plural, denoting any form of communicating that has meaning, such as gesture or font choice. Literacies are multimodal in nature and involve layers of semiotics. Addressing the new literacies, Crest states that we need to be multiliterate to be able to participate fully in society, and because of the unharnessed nature of the internet, multiliteracy involves the ability to critically analyse content, design and authority when engaging with online texts. So how does this impact on learner identity? This generation, the net generation, engages in literacy in a different way, using texts that are visual, oral and interactive, and in thought that it is how they interact that influences their self-identity. Digital age research has revisited historical cross-discipline theory about learning and communication from academics such as Vygotsky, Barthes and Bryce Heath. For instance, the net generation, according to Erstat and Sefton Green, appear to apply Michael Halliday's linguistic theory of contextual meaning to multimodal, multisemitic. So identity can be seen as something that is practiced through engaging with social practices and in literacies within different domains and in consideration of discourses that are in existence. A person has almost limitless resources of virtual communities in which to learn about themselves, using the internet as an alternative and additional space in which to create, interact with others and play with their identity. An almost fantasy world where you can be whoever you want, try it on for size and learn the cultural knowledge of many different groups. Guy Merchant also considers the impact of online affordances, believing them to be a major factor in what Goffman described as identity performance, creating in effect different personas and playing that part during digital interactions and communication. We can create many personas. One example is through the language we use in online communities such as Game Talk, where choosing the right words, syntax and tone immediately indicates whether you're a noob or an imber, and where a virtual cultural canon of hierarchy has been artificially created within the constraints of a website. A person can enhance their self-esteem and sense of ability by progressing through stages of a game and move up the hierarchy of that community as if it had been experienced in real life. Such self-labelling of identities will obviously impact on real-life situations. It could be argued that the online increase in agency and influence is partly to blame for behaviour and attitude amongst students that is contradictory to traditional education paradigms. According to some scholars, the net generation are at odds with the dominant discourses of our current school system as they exert their newfound authority within the classroom. What has become increasingly obvious is that new technology is here to stay. Learner identities are radically different from the ones that our current system is designed for. In order to provide a contemporary education that the net generation can engage with and relate to, academics such as Cope and Clancy's argue that the education of a digital age must endeavour to provide all students with skills that enable them to be multiliterate, irrespective of yesterday's politics of identity, such as gender and ethnicity. By approaching literacy and identity from this new perspective, tomorrow's classroom can be thought of as any space where learning takes place, and virtual interactions could be seen as worthwhile as interactions in the physical world. Education of the digital age will need to revisit what is understood about identity. Digital pedagogy requires flexibility, understanding that students are involved in their own learning, to be prepared to speak in new and unfamiliar languages. In short, the old education mindset has to change. The world the net generation inhabits already has.
created using Powtoon.